With this basic idea till now, where we've assessed our patients with fall, we'll further move towards either prevention or management of these fall and fall-related injuries. What we need to understand is none of this that we've just discussed, nor assessment, nor management, will remain a one-person's game. So we'll always have a multi-domain or a multifactorial intervention coming into picture when we are dealing with our elderly patients or community dwelling patients who are presenting to us with fall. So we'll always have a group of people working together in fall prevention. So the primary thing that we as physical therapists will be looking into is their strength and balance. Strength and balance exercises remains the primary management in any such cases. Secondary remains management of orthostatic hypotension and any other CVS diseases. Management of any underlying acute or chronic diseases. Optimizing their vision. So if required a cataract surgery or refraction changes or any hearing issues that your patients will present with, addressing foot problems and advising appropriate footwear. As I said, a medication review is very, very important because, as I just mentioned, your selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, literature also proves that these medicines which treat depression also lead to demineralization and a loss of bone density. So a medication review remains absolutely important. Vitamin D supplementation, ensuring optimization of nutrition, continence management, interventions to address concerns about falling, individual education to the patient and the caregiver, and any other environmental modification like use of any other assistive device or technology if and appropriate. This is the exercise recommendation for our individuals with presenting to us with falls. This recommendation is given by WHO. So WHO suggests that if this fall prevention program or if this fall management program is followed appropriately, it benefits health, improves sleep, maintains healthy weight, manages stress, and improves quality of life for patients. It also reduces chances of patients of having likelihood of having type 2 diabetes mellitus, any cardiovascular disease, falls, depression, any joint or back pain, and even cancer of the colon and breast specifically. What the WHO does recommend is 150 minutes to 75 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity twice in a week. Apart from that, it also recommends strength training to maintain and improve your muscle density, your bone mass, etc., etc., which is again repeated 2 times a day. It also recommends exercises particularly to target balance of the individual. So exercises like Tai Chi, dance are highly recommended by WHO, which are again repeated 2 times in a week. And lastly, it also recommends to avoid any form of inactivity in our patients. So the more we minimize sedentary life and more you encourage activity, physical activity, is proven to give better results and prevent falls henceforth in future. There are similar recommendations given by other such agencies like this fall prevention guidelines talk about giving exercises which are balanced, challenging, functional exercises like sit to stand, how it is important to progress with these exercises and how these exercises should be maintained at least for a 12-week period, and loss to follow-up will lead for the patient to get back to his previous level, the previous inactivity level. So they also tell us about training our patients on balance and functional training, Tai Chi exercises, other forms of resistive exercises and aerobic training. All these exercises should be challenging to the patient and should be performed 3 times a week for at least 2 hours period time in a week. And a very important aspect that they've covered is all of these exercises should be delivered via a health exercise professional or a trained instructor. These are the guidelines given by ACMS, which again suggests, which have a similar suggestion, just suggests of giving at least 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity or 75 to 150 minutes of vigorous intensity aerobic activity. And apart from that, you still have your balance training, which comes into picture. You still have your strength training, which comes into picture. And they've also recommended that if you want additional benefits, you can always progress to more than 300 minutes and more than 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous intensity physical activity. They also, again, have similar suggestions about limiting sedentary lifestyle and limiting activities which will give us a sedentary lifestyle. And they talk about replacing such sedentary behaviors with low-level physical activity exercises like a brisk walk. What the Prevention of Fall Neuro Network Europe has given us is a six-point taxonomy where we need to train our patients on all these 6 points to have effective results in our fall prevention program. So they talk about giving your patients good gait, balance, and functional training. Giving them strength or resistance exercises and slowly enhancing the strength and resistance exercises and including power exercises, giving them flexibility exercises, giving them 3D exercises like Tai Chi, giving them general physical activity, promoting general physical activity like a brisk walk, giving endurance exercises to a patient, and any other kind of exercises that we would like to particularly enhance in our patients. So all of this exercise program has very strong recommendation in literature and has proven to be useful for our patients experiencing fall or for fall prevention as well. What all of them also cover is that all of these programs should be delivered by an appropriately trained professional like a physiotherapist, or exercise physiologist, or a kinesiologist. Basically, any trained exercise instructor or an allied health professional who has his expertise in dealing with fall prevention. We also have other specific populations who are on high risk of fall and should be managed effectively. So our patients with Parkinson's disease and related disorders should always be managed with exercise training, targeting balance and strength. Again, they should be offered by a supervised, these exercises should be offered with the help of a supervised physiotherapist or other suitable qualified professional. Also, our older adults with stroke, they should be given an individualized exercise program aimed at balance, strength, and walking. Patients with mild cognitive impairment and dementia should also be given standalone exercises and balance training, which may include Tai Chi and other multi-component exercises which will target their strength and balance issues. Older adults, after sustaining a hip fracture due to trauma, should also be given an individualized progressive exercise program, which will aim at their mobility and strength issues. Similarly, like we've just seen how to deal with our exercise therapy throughout the rehab of while we're rehabilitating our patients with falls. Are individuals who have concerns about falling and present to us with fear of fall should also be referred to an appropriate occupational therapist or a psychologist for, and in fact, even physical therapists these days take over the part of giving our patients appropriate cognitive behavioral therapy or enhancing them by practicing improving their physical activity by allowing them to practice some form of Pilates or yoga that can be practiced. Some environmental factors that need to be taken into consideration while managing our patients with fall is we need to identify hazards that are present in the individual's environment and prioritize taking action on them. We need to educate relevant to falls, educate a patient relevant to falls, functions and hazard. We need to also plan an action for removing and changing these hazards and how can we modify those the risk behaviors. Also adequate follow-up of all of these patients and support for modification required while taking into consideration the respective hazard should be done. Also, what is good evidence in literature is educating our patients well about falls. So it basically starts with explaining our patient the meaning of fall. So for somebody, a fall is only when the patient is landing onto the ground, while what a definition also included is any lower surface than what the patient was working on. So it remains very important that you explain your patients the meaning or how will you define a fall for the patient, and then note down the number of fall the patient has experienced in the past 1 year. Also, what is the patient's perceived cause for the fall is an important thing that we need to ask for and educate the patient about as well. Also assess any personal risk factor that the patient is presenting to you with. Also, what is the priority that the patient gives to his or her repeated history of fall or the ones whatever the fall patient presented with. So how much importance is your patient giving to that health concern of fall, and the involvement of the caregivers into the session that is delivered to the patient. So educating your patients about all of these factors remains important. As I just said, something that is readily available in literature and has good evidence is fall risk increasing drugs, your FRIDs. So in case a therapist notices any of your patients having FRIDs, de-prescribing these FRIDs with the help of the physician or the doctor treating is an important thing that should be taken into consideration while treating our patients in the multifactorial treatment of patients with fall. Another important thing your patients, another important risk factor for fall remains your orthostatic hypotension, patient presented with syncope. Here we need to address the syncope if present. We need to do a lot of education in such cases as well. Ensure that there's adequate hydration and good salt intake that your patient is taking. Check for any hypotensive drug if prescribed to a patient. Check for any counter pressure maneuvers if can be given to such patients. At the site of syncope, the first thing that should be done is a head up tilt maneuver, and compression garments can be added to their treatment or their entire regime of fall prevention. So addressing orthostatic hypotension has also been shown strong recommendation in literature for fall prevention. Telehealth apparently did not have good evidence. The grade was only 2C in literature for fall prevention. But what it did recommend is having more and more amount of studies about how can we encompass telehealth rehabilitation with exercise training and find better results in the fall prevention program in community. Also, some visual impairment patients might come to OPD setting wearing their multifocal glasses. But what evidence finds is wearing multifocal glasses outside in community is increasing the likelihood of fall. So ensuring that there's optimal, safe, functional vision for our active elderly patient is absolutely important. But again, visual correction preventing fall has still low evidence as of now in literature. Vitamin D deficiency still has low evidence in literature, and what studies suggest is having a blood test done to confirm the deficiency of vitamin D, and only then prescribing vitamin D medications to our patients is absolutely important. So optimizing the patient's nutritional status by maintaining an adequate calcium and protein intake is absolutely important, and vitamin D supplementation is also important. But as I said, it has low evidence that only vitamin D supplementation will prevent fall. So it can be prescribed, but as I said, a blood test proving vitamin D levels are low, and therefore vitamin D prescription is done is what is supposed to be followed. I think in conclusion, what the global guidelines of falls suggest us are a 10-pointer thing, that they recommend us assessing gait and balance of our patients with, as I said, a time up and go test or a gait speed. Before prescribing any fall risk increasing drug, FRIDs, we must take into consideration assessment of our patient's fall and risk and therefore the risk of fall. Our multifactorial risk assessment should also include a detailed cardiovascular assessment. Also, they recommend exercise which focus on balance and strength and endurance and 3D movements 3 times a week. Also, they focus on every hospitalized geriatric. What these guidelines also recommend is a routine cognitive assessment for our patients with Parkinson's disease. They recommend the self-report 3-question assessment. They also recommend telehealth in conjunction with exercise regime to be followed. They also recommend a multifactorial assessment with a tailored intervention program. And they also tell us about every geriatric visiting any clinician, the clinician should inquire about the history of fall or any incidents of fall if reported by our patients. This will increase our chances of finding cases or finding individuals who experience fall in any such events. Yes, I think with this we complete our falls in elderly session. Thank you. Thank you so much, Shivani. Thank you, Sancheti Institute of Orthopaedics and Rehabilitation and Sancheti College of Physiotherapy for providing me with this opportunity to present this topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Apurva, for your valuable insights. I think when we started with the session, I had multiple doubts, but as we went along, all of my doubts are already clear. So on behalf of Sancheti Institute for Orthopedic Rehabilitation, College of Physiotherapy, I would like to extend my big thank you to Dr. Apurva for taking her valuable time for sharing the meaningful insights with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Shivani. Thank you. Thank you all.